Hello, and welcome to another episode of Dr. Said Says This About That. I am Dr. Cedric Wood, and I observe the news every day here in America. And I have some thoughts on the politics that are going on. I mean, this government shutdown is terrible, and it's being talked about over and over again. And you can't help but wonder what's going on with that. Well, the surface talk is there. The Democrats are saying that we are not going to cooperate because we won't until the issues are worked out, that poor people will have food and that many millions of Americans will have insurance. Okay, that sounds logical. The Republicans are saying we're not going to go in there because we don't want to allow all that money going to illegal aliens and their medical needs. We're not going to pay for that. They haven't really reiterated that. That was probably wise, but that's what I hear they're saying. And really, there's just so much going on that we don't learn. I mean, maybe I need to watch C-SPAN more. I just watch the regular news, and they just won't go into depth. And when they do, it's kind of like blah, blah, blah. Get to the issues at hand, please. And we're going to have an election in about a year all over the country. And I'm wondering if the politicians are going to come out strong against how horrible you are. No, you're horrible. In fact, they've already started. My senator here in Texas is Senator Nathan Johnson, and he's announcing his bid for Attorney General here in Texas. Well, okay, very good. I'd like to help him out if he'll promise to push for a class in every high school in mental health and well-being. It's just something we need, and I am failing at getting any politician to really take it and run with it and maybe even use it as a campaign selling point. And I would love for my Senator Nathan Johnson to do that. But this is what I've noticed is that the politicians are so egocentric. It makes sense, and I'm doing it right now myself. Step one is it makes sense what you're doing. And so what you're doing is, I believe in this, I believe in that. Okay, fine. But when do you go to step two and say, I understand that my colleagues across the aisle are trying to feed poor people. That's a wonderful thing to do. I get it. And I support that notion. They're also trying to have affordable insurance. I get that. I would like to see millions of Americans have affordable insurance. And then you say, however, we worry that there's going to be a lot of illegal immigrants who are going to get a lot of medical bills paid for by the United States government. And we don't want that. So you see how I did that? I started off with validating you, and then I say my worry is. And this is my conflict model here. And you can see that the very first thing that happens is the A person does something. And then the B person has thoughts and feelings about that. And then they respond, what they say and what they do. And so often they don't respond in a way that makes the A person feel heard and validated. And so if we want to have a good relationship, we have to respond in a way that sends the message, I hear you. And I even think that what you're doing or thinking makes sense up to a degree. And when the other person, sometimes it's a person we love, sometimes it's a person I work with, sometimes it's a student of mine, I get where you're coming from. And then we say, however, these are the difficult things I'm struggling with, and so I really need you to do this, or I'm going to insist that we all do that. That's just healthy communication. And I really want to take this moment to encourage all the politicians to start thinking in that way. What can I say that shows respect to the other person? And I was pretty impressed. I heard it a year ago during the vice presidential debates. Each one of them said something about the other person's position that made sense to them, or seemed logical, or it's understandable. that you want this or that. Both of them did it, and so I was very impressed. Didn't happen in the presidential debate, but we need to try to do that as much as we can with the person we love, our child, our student, our coworker, or the person across the aisle. Model for the United States citizens a healthy way to communicate. You have the camera. You have the platform when you talk, and millions of us are watching you. Why not show good character? Why not show good emotional intelligence? IMACE stands for integrity, maturity, adult ego state. There it is right there. There's the three middle ego states called the adult. The C stands for character, and the E stands for emotional intelligence. Why not show the people that you're giving a speech to that you have those character traits? And one way to do it is to say, I get where you're coming from. My opponent in this race wants these things. And I can see his point or her point of view. That will show millions of Americans how to communicate in a healthy way. Okay? Give it some thought. Give it a try. If you need any coaching on that, let me know. Call me, 214-394-4040, and I'll help you out. This is Dr. Cedric Wood. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time.